The tale begins in a paradise known as the Shingi sect, one of the largest sects of immortal cultivation in the mortal realm of the Linan continent. Here, a grand ceremony is held every 10 years to accept new disciples. Underneath small arenas, intense duels take place among contestants. Thousands of individuals compete to determine their rank. Winning 5 consecutive matches earns the status of an outer sect disciple. Winning an additional 5 matches qualifies one as an inner sect disciple. At this moment, a tall and muscular young man with a physique marked by six-pack abs lay defeated. He had suffered a crushing blow and fallen flat to the ground. The match had concluded, and the 7th arena had declared its winner. The victor, who had effortlessly defeated the large man in the blink of an eye, was a strikingly beautiful woman named Lin Tion, the Empress Reborn. Even someone as useless as that can join this grand ceremony for recruiting disciples? The Shingi sect is truly questionable, Lin Tion thought. I never imagined that I, the Empress, would have to restart my cultivation journey in such a mediocre sect. These people aren't even worth my attention. They pose no challenge to me. They're only an annoyance. Still, my goal here is to qualify for cultivating immortals. After I spend 10 years in the Shingi sect, I will seek vengeance against that traitor. The Grand Elder of the Shingi sect, who observed Lin Tiantian's display of strength, couldn't help but praise her. At such a young age, she has already cultivated to the 6th level of Qi refinement. Truly, a rare talent for cultivating immortals. Her outstanding performance also caught the attention of Qin Changqing, the Grandmaster of Heavenly Sword Peak. Grand Elder, your observation is spot on. I want to take her back to Heavenly Sword Peak, Changqing stated confidently. However, the Grand Elder was visibly displeased by this. Changqing, disciple, don't forget. Within the Shingi sect, disciples have the freedom to choose their masters. If you want her to join your Heavenly Sword Peak, it's not up to you alone. It depends on whether she agrees. Changqing quickly assured the Grand Elder. Rest assured, Grand Elder, Changqing will never violate sect rules. I believe she will make the wisest choice. However, the Grand Elder's gaze shifted toward the empty chair beside him. His expression soured as he realized an important figure was absent from today's competition. It was unacceptable to leave the chair vacant, so he shouted in frustration, "Where is Yang? Didn't I tell you to summon him?" A frightened disciple stepped forward and stammered. I reminded Yang, Grand Elder. Uncle said he had important matters to attend to and would arrive later. The Grand Elder's face darkened with irritation. Important matters? What important matters could that little rascal possibly have? He's probably run off to fish again. How could the previous master, a man of such heroism, have produced such a son? As it turned out, the Grand Elder's suspicions were correct. At the Shingi sect's Xia Yao Peak, where fragrant flowers bloomed and a crystal-clear lake reflected the serene surroundings, Yang was indeed fishing leisurely. With a bamboo rod that seemed surprisingly domineering, Yang introduced himself casually. My name is Yang, and I've entered the world of immortal cultivation. I am currently the master of Xia Yao Peak in the Shingi sect. Although I hold the title of master, in truth I am nothing more than a solitary man. There is no one else on Xia Yao Peak besides me. In the eyes of others, I am nothing but a privileged child benefiting from my father's reputation. He was the former master of the Shingi sect. They see me as mediocre, a mere practitioner at the refined chai stage, undeserving of my position. But the truth remains hidden. As Yang spoke, a notification suddenly appeared before him. It stated, host has been fishing for 9,206. The current cultivation level of the host is refined chai, stage 3,550. Yang chuckled to himself. While others must work tirelessly to improve, I, Yang, can surpass them with ease and relaxation. Long ago, I awakened a unique system. As long as I fish every day, my cultivation increases. That's right. I gain a cultivation level simply by fishing for a single day. He paused, reflecting on his situation. Still, I feel like I got a knockoff system. For most people, the 9th level of refined chai is the ultimate limit. Yet I've surpassed 3,000 levels and still can't establish a foundation. There must be a bug in this system. Despite his complaints, Yang remained engrossed in his fishing. Time passed, and he continued to ignore the world around him. Then, out of nowhere, a thought struck him. Wait, isn't there something happening today? He furrowed his brow in sudden alarm. That's right, the recruitment ceremony of the Shingi sect. Realizing he had completely forgotten about the event, Yang sighed and began packing up his fishing gear. Even though no disciples are likely to recognize me as their master, as the master of Xia Yao Peak, I should still make an appearance, he muttered, leaving the serene lake behind. At this moment, in the finals of the Shingi sect's recruitment ceremony, Only the two most promising contestants remained after several intense qualifying rounds. Lin Tian stood on one side, her confidence unshaken. Her final opponent was a young man with an exceptionally scholarly demeanor that had already enamored many of the female spectators. "Miss Lin," he said, smiling politely, "I've watched all your matches. Your martial skills are truly extraordinary. I am very impressed." Hearing his words of admiration, Tian thought to herself with a hint of amusement, "Are you planning to admit defeat?" Though no one asked, the young man introduced himself. "Perhaps the young lady doesn't know, but I am the young master of Luang Hall, a sect affiliated with the Shingi sect. My family's seventh uncle is an elder here." Faced with his incessant chatter, Tian finally interrupted him. "What do you really want to say?" As it turned out, his long-winded introduction and flattery were merely a prelude to mockery. "What I mean is, my starting point is entirely different from yours. Currently, I've reached the 7th level of chi refinement. Even if you lose to me, it's no disgrace for you." His smug provocation nearly made Tian laugh out loud. Instead, her expression darkened. "I've tolerated you long enough. Now you've gone too far." In the next moment, her eyes gleamed with determination. With a single decisive slap, she struck him hard, leaving his face distorted. The crowd gasped in shock. How humiliating. Just moments ago, he had looked down on her, and now he was utterly defeated, humiliated like a fish flopping out of water. Of course, a realm cannot have two rulers. Lin Tian stood victorious in an utterly convincing manner. The champion of this year's Shingi sect recruitment competition was none other than her. The spectators were left speechless, their stunned expressions testament to her overwhelming display of skill. "No way! This was the final match, right? And she ended it in just one move." Lin Tian isn't just talented, she's also breathtakingly beautiful. Heaven is truly partial. What a prodigy! Hearing the noisy chatter, the Grand Elder shouted to silence the crowd. "Quiet! Great Tao has 3 heavens. You are the chosen ones and must select the skill that suits you from the very beginning of your cultivation." Standing firmly on the podium, he raised his hand toward the sky. The 5 peaks of the Shingi sect represent different paths of cultivation. Once chosen, it cannot be changed. At that moment, a figure made his entrance, his presence commanding attention. Yang had decided to join the event, not wanting to miss out on the excitement. Meanwhile, Qin Changqing also stepped forward, gently lifting his shimmering sword as soft petals floated down around him. The brilliance of his swordsmanship was on full display. Heavenly Sword Peak's charm was undeniable, and his presence captivated the crowd. Several young women in the audience whispered to one another, their admiration clear. "This man is truly remarkable." Some couldn't help but dream, "What if I could take him as my husband?" Qin Changqing, known as the Little Sword God, was renowned as the strongest among the younger generation of the Shingi sect. I want to join Heavenly Sword Peak to learn Sword Dao with senior brother Changqing," exclaimed one enthusiastic disciple after a long day of hard work. Later, during the summary report, the Grand Elder announced the acceptance figures for each peak. Heavenly Sword Peak had accepted 1,200 disciples, Shou Peak 520, Lingao Peak 370, and WWA Peak 250. However, as he finished his report, his expression suddenly darkened and his voice hesitated. "Xia Yao Peak has accepted a disciple," he announced, prompting astonishment among those present. "Does Xia Yao Peak truly accept someone?" Qin Changqing, noticing Yang's figure in the distance, couldn't help but scoff. "Is there really someone who chose Xia Yao Peak? I'm truly curious who is blind enough to accept such a useless person as their master." To everyone's surprise, the one who chose Yang as her master was none other than the MVP who had just cleared the map, Lin Tian. Her decision sparked disdain from many in the Shingi sect. "A little sect like this isn't worthy to have the Empress Lin Tian as its master," she declared arrogantly. "However, Xia Yao Peak, where no one else chooses, seems suitable for my cultivation." Eager to sway her decision and undermine Yang's reputation, Changqing mocked, "Miss Lin, this master of Xia Yao Peak is merely at the chi refinement stage. He won't be able to guide you properly. You should join my Heavenly Sword Peak instead. I will personally teach you swordsmanship." Not one to stay silent, Yang quickly stood up to defend himself. "Qin Changqing, you are openly poaching a disciple from Xia Yao Peak, which may violate sect rules." Changqing was taken aback to see Yang emerge from his fishing spot. Ignoring Changqing's persistence, Yang turned to the Grand Elder and said, "Ye Kong uncle, you are usually preoccupied with trivial matters and have shown no intention of teaching disciples." Lin Tian. Tian's talent for cultivating immortals is a great treasure. However, Please ensure you are ready to accept her as your disciple, and do not let her potential go to waste. Yang calmly reassured the Grand Elder, though his casual tone seemed to inadvertently make Lin Tian uncomfortable. Grand Elder, don't worry. She's still not at the foundation establishment stage. As long as she remains at the refined chai stage, there isn't a single disciple I cannot teach. Tian couldn't help but scoff at his supreme confidence. What a grandiose attitude. You speak as if you're undefeated in the refined chai stage. Yet, before long, Yang dismissed her as little more than a servant, leaving her speechless. Besides, he added, I'm the only one at Xia Yao Peak. If she joins, she could help tidy things up. I'm sure I want to accept this disciple. Tian bristled at his words, her pride wounded. Do you mean to ask me, the Empress, to help you clean? Don't blame me for being impolite. Her irritation soon turned into determination as she sought to test Yang's strength. Master Peak, if you want to take me as your disciple, shouldn't you prove that you're stronger than me? If she wanted a challenge, Yang was more than willing to oblige. How do you want me to prove it? Tian kept her request simple. Take 3 moves from me. But Yang, with his playful nature, countered with a suggestion of his own. No, 3 moves are too troublesome. 1 move is enough. His casual attitude sparked a wave of mockery from the crowd. You don't even have the confidence to take 3 moves? What a shame for the Shingi sect. So embarrassing. Despite the ridicule, Tian remained confident in her overwhelming strength. Fine. Just 1 move to decide the victor, she agreed. This person doesn't know that I am the Empress reincarnated. Dealing with a useless person like him? Even if I were to lose my cultivation, 1 move would be more than enough. While Tian prepared herself seriously, gathering her energy for the attack, Yang treated the whole affair as nothing more than a casual game. Let's get this over with, he said. After we finish, we'll head back to Xia Yao Peak. I'll cook and do the dishes. The trick of the universe. Tian's incredibly powerful attack carried an imposing momentum. She concentrated all her strength and launched the strike with confidence. Meanwhile, Yang stood completely relaxed, nonchalant, and utterly unafraid. When the inevitable happened, Yang effortlessly took the full force of her strike. Tian stood proud, certain of her success. Take that! You'll at least be bedridden for half a year for daring to ask me to do the dishes. But to her utter shock, her attack hadn't even scratched him. Yang brushed off her effort without so much as flinching. Your technique has momentum but no real power. Don't practice it anymore. It's just a waste of time. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. She gritted her teeth in disbelief and frustration. I clearly hit him. Why is he completely unscathed? Seething with anger and humiliation, she pointed at him, stammering. You, the crowd, equally bewildered by the outcome, erupted in confusion. What are you two doing? Are you putting on some kind of play for us? At this moment, Tian began speculating wildly. That's it. This Yang is a peak master. He must be wearing a protective garment. Don't think that just because you have a protective garment, I can't do anything to you. Determined, she declared. Watch me use my spirit technique. Tian activated her trump card to attack Yang's spiritual sea. As she launched the technique, she suddenly found herself in a completely new space. Her astonishment was evident. What is this? She murmured, bewildered. The spiritual sea, where cultivators store their spiritual energy, appeared before her. The smaller a person's spiritual energy, the larger the area of their spiritual sea would be. However, to her utter disbelief, Yang, just a chi refining cultivator, had a spiritual sea as vast as the ocean. Beneath her feet, waves began to rise. She stood frozen in shock. What is going on? Suddenly, Yang transformed into a giant, surging with the rising waters. He turned the waves against her, launching an overwhelming assault. His expression turned serious as he said, Now it's time to show you, Tian, what respect means. Before now, Yang had been gentle, but he no longer held back. His voice boomed, This place is not somewhere you can enter. Get out! The force expelled them both from the spiritual sea. While Yang remained unscathed, Tian collapsed at the threshold of her spiritual energy, utterly drained. Seeing her condition, Yang quickly ran to support her, silently thankful that he hadn't gone too far. Luckily, I stopped when I did. If I'd taken one more step, her divine consciousness would have been refined by my spiritual sea. At that point, she'd have become a fool, he thought. Without hesitation, Yang picked her up and carried her away. My disciple has been exhausted from continuous battles. Everyone, I will take her back to Xia Yao Peak, he announced. The crowd remained in disbelief, murmuring among themselves. They must have planned this in advance. It has to be that way. How could Yang defeat Lin Tian like that? What they didn't know was that the angriest person at that moment was none other than Chongqing. He gritted his teeth, his expression darkening. Well done, Yong. Playing tricks on me, are you? Today, with the Grand Elder present, I cannot act against you. But just wait. 10 days from now, when Elder Sister arrives, I'll trample you underfoot. Let's see if you'll still have the face to call yourself someone's master. Meanwhile, in Tian's delirium, fragmented memories began rushing back to her like a slow-motion film. Emona, I am a strong Emperor Realm cultivator. If I can break through this barrier, I'll be able to ascend to the Celestial Realm. Protect me, and don't let anyone come close. At that moment, she hadn't yet revealed her true self. Instead, she pretended to agree. Tion, don't worry, Emona had said. I won't let anyone get close to you. However, Tion had no idea that while she was cultivating and placing her complete trust in Emona, the latter was secretly preparing to stab her in the back. When Tion finally realized the harsh truth, it was already too late. Her body was drenched in blood, the result of Emona's treachery. Trembling with disbelief, she questioned, I treated you like a sister. Why did you betray me? Emona, a wolf in sheep's clothing, smirked cruelly. Because only by doing this can I have everything you have. Remember, in your next life, never trust anyone. With those venomous words, Emona plunged the dagger deeper into Tian's chest, causing blood to splatter endlessly. Betrayed by someone she had cherished, a hatred so intense it could not be contained surged within her. I will come back for you. I will find you and take my revenge. Tian swore. At that moment, she woke up with a start. Like a frightened fawn, her eyes darting around in confusion. Where is this place? She muttered, her breathing rapid from the nightmare. Before she could gather her thoughts, Yong's calm voice broke the silence. You're awake. Still shaken, Tian's overthinking mind went into overdrive. She immediately assumed a fighting stance, her instincts kicking in. Ye Kong, what have you done to me? Yong, completely unfazed by her suspicion, replied in his usual nonchalant tone. During the competition, you suddenly fainted. I brought you back to Xia Yao Peak to rest. Furthermore, he added with a faint smile, you should be calling me master now. His words left her momentarily stunned, but her hands moved faster than her brain as she began rummaging around his body. Yong froze in place, utterly baffled. Disciple, what are you doing? Having found nothing, Tian's confusion deepened. She began doubting her own senses. It can't be wrong. He only has qi refinement cultivation. Could everything that happened in the spiritual sea earlier have just been a dream? Not wanting to dwell on it further, she decided to brush the matter aside. Well, my original plan was to join Xia Yao Peak anyway. As long as he doesn't disturb my cultivation, letting him be the master in name only is fine. Meanwhile, Yong was bustling about, clearly thrilled to take on his first disciple. Come and see what your master has prepared for your cultivation resources. Tian raised an eyebrow, feeling slightly suspicious. Cultivation resources? Could it be a pill furnace? Or something similar? She looked at him skeptically but followed along. When Yong presented the item, her doubts only grew. Nevertheless, she said politely, Thank you, master. However, the moment she opened the lid of the pot he handed her and saw its contents, her expression turned to complete shock. Is this the cultivation resource you mentioned? She asked, her voice trembling. Yong, a passionate food lover, grinned with pride. Of course! This phoenix was caught with great difficulty by your master and simmered with spirit flame. While it's still hot, hurry up and eat. Tian stood there, stunned, unable to process the bizarre situation she had just walked into. Moved by Yong's sincerity, Tian reluctantly decided to give the dish a chance. Well then, she thought, he's just a qi refinement cultivator. How could he have actual cultivation resources anyway? It's his goodwill, so I'll try a bite. Besides, this chicken pot does smell amazing. However, just as she reached for the chopsticks, Yong stopped her. Wait, Tian stared at him in disbelief. The food tantalizingly close yet suddenly out of reach. Fury ignited in her as she snapped, What are you doing? Yong explained calmly. Disciple, you can't eat this chicken yet. With your current cultivation, you won't be able to refine the spiritual energy in the meat. Her dislike for him intensified. Greedy for food is one thing, but now he's saying, I can't refine spiritual energy? Isn't this just chicken? She fumed. And a phoenix, no less. Who does he think he is, spouting such nonsense? Through this incident, Tian's resolve hardened. How can someone so stingy be my master? She thought angrily. Tonight, I'll leave the Xinghe sect. I don't want to stay here a moment longer. But then, she decided to try a sip of the soup. Her eyes widened in shock as an intense warmth spread through her. This soup was supposed to be awful, she thought, but it's incredible. Immediately, she felt a powerful stream of energy rushing into her spiritual sea. She couldn't believe it. How can a bowl of chicken soup be so effective? Did he add some rare, high-grade elixir to this dish? Elixirs of such quality were precious, especially in a small sect like the Xing He sect. And yet, Yang had used them on her. Her opinion of him shifted in an instant. Fine. Consider this a favor I owe you, she thought, her pride still intact. Once I recover my cultivation, I'll grant you an opportunity that will make this little sect proud of you. Meanwhile, Yang finished his meal and stood up, completely nonchalant. Disciple, once you're done eating, remember to wash the dishes. I'm going out for a stroll to help with digestion. Tian froze, her mood flipping back to anger. How dare he make me do servant's work, she thought furiously. What does he think I am? She slammed her chopsticks down and growled inwardly. Just wait until I restore my cultivation. I'll make him wash every single dish in the Xing He sect. Finishing the chicken soup hastily, she stormed outside, slamming the door behind her with enough force to echo across the mountain. Her expression was murderous, as though she were ready to eat Yang alive. Unbeknownst to her, a tiny ant scuttled by and stumbled across a leftover puddle of soup. As the ant began nibbling on the miraculous broth, something extraordinary happened. The elixir-infused soup triggered a mutation. The ant began to transform rapidly, its body growing larger and more formidable with every passing second. It evolved into a legendary creature, the ancient mythical beast known as the Skyhorn Ant. Its newfound power radiated as it lifted its gaze toward the dark heavens. At that moment, the skies seemed to echo its fury. Thunder rumbled ominously as bolts of lightning illuminated the mountain. Suddenly, a massive heavenly Tao thunderbolt descended, striking directly at Xia Yao Peak. As the dazzling and destructive light approached, the ant could only pray silently. But just as the bolt was about to land, Yang appeared, leaping into the air with impeccable timing. I won't allow anyone to harm this place, Yang shouted, his voice brimming with authority. Get lost! If you damage even a single flower or blade of grass on Xia Yao Peak, can you take responsibility? With a wave of his hand, Yang unleashed a counterattack, dispersing the lightning with ease. His imposing aura was so monstrous and overwhelming that even the mighty Skyhorn Ant trembled in fear. Tears welling up in its eyes, Yang descended gracefully, his gaze fixed on the ant. His shock was apparent. A Skyhorn Ant? He thought. How could an ancient mythical beast show up on Xia Yao Peak? Noticing the untouched chicken soup on the ground, realization dawned on him. So you ate the phoenix bone, he murmured, and triggered the ancient veins within you. Despite its newfound strength, the ant looked up at Yang with an adorably timid expression. Yang couldn't bring himself to drive it away. Instead, he smiled softly. This must be fate, he said. I'll call you Xiaohei. From now on, you'll stay here on Xia Yao Peak and help me guard the place. Entrusted with this important role, Xiaohei immediately took its job seriously. It patrolled the peak with unmatched dedication, a small scarf around its neck with the word patrol embroidered on it. With its highly sensitive antennae, it ensured no intruders dared trespass on Xia Yao Peak. One night, while on its rounds, Xiaohei noticed a faint light emanating from one of the rooms in the house. Curious, it ventured closer and discovered that the source of the glow was none other than Tian, who was relaxing in a bath. Despite the tranquility of the scene, Tian was visibly annoyed. Her hands were covered in soap, a clear sign that she had begrudgingly done the dishes earlier, a task she still resented. Just as Xiaohei crept closer, her sharp instincts kicked in. She snapped her head around and, without hesitation, unleashed her water arrow technique. The powerful stream of water shot toward Xiaohei, but it had no effect. The ant stood unharmed, its body enhanced by the miraculous chicken soup. Realizing her attack was useless, Tian grew wary. This isn't an ordinary demon beast, she thought. It must be extraordinary. While contemplating her next move, she also realized the situation required a quick exit from the bath. I can't face this beast like this, naked like a newborn larva. With a graceful wave of her hand, her clothes materialized, wrapping around her in an instant. She stood poised, ready for whatever came next. Tian, regaining her usual overbearing demeanor, addressed Xiaohei as if she were a benevolent ruler speaking to a subordinate. Little ant, as long as you serve this emperor, I will grant you a chance in the future. Becoming a demon king is not impossible. However, much to her dismay, the proud Skyhorn Ant showed no interest in her lofty promises. Xiaohei simply shook its head in refusal, leaving Tian stunned. Did I just get rejected? She muttered, disbelief etched across her face. Unwilling to accept the rejection, Tian crossed her arms and leaned down, glaring at the little creature. You have no right to refuse. Once you become the Demon King in the future, you'll definitely thank me for this. Xiaohei remained unmoved, further aggravating Tian, who was now determined to make the ant comply. Meanwhile, in another part of Xia Yao Peak, Yang was flipping through an old, dusty book titled Profound Sovereign Decision. He muttered to himself, I almost forgot. Since I took on a disciple, I can't just roam around fishing all day. I need to actually teach something. I haven't passed on the foundational skills of Xia Yao Peak to my disciple yet. Just as he was about to focus on the book, a loud scream echoed through the peak. Alarmed, Yang immediately set the book aside and rushed toward the sound at top speed. Disciple, what happened to you? Yang called out as he arrived, his face filled with concern. He was greeted by a chaotic scene. Tian, flailing about, covered in scratches as Xiao He repeatedly launched small but precise attacks. The proud empress-turned disciple looked utterly helpless. Earlier, she had tried to impose her will on the ant, but Xiao He, unbothered by her threats, retaliated with a series of quick jabs, leaving her with no chance to defend herself. Seeing Yang, Tian pointed an accusing finger at the ant and wailed, You bastard! What have you done to your disciple? Yang, suppressing a laugh, gently explained, Disciple, don't be afraid. This is Xiao He, the spirit beast I tamed today to guard Xia Yao Peak. Is there a misunderstanding between you two? The once proud Tian now felt her spirit completely crushed. Tears streamed down her face as she muttered, I can't even defeat the spirit beast guarding Xia Yao Peak. What kind of useless cultivator am I? Yang, seeing her distress, crouched down and held up the book he'd been reading earlier. Disciple, don't be impatient. If you master the techniques in this book, I guarantee Xiao He won't be able to touch you. Tian sniffled and wiped her tears, taking the book with trembling hands. Profound sovereign technique? Is it really that powerful? Yang smiled, taking the opportunity to boast. Of course, this is the supreme secret technique of our sect. With each level you master, your cultivation will double. Practice diligently, and I assure you, aside from me, no one at Xia Yao Peak will be your match. Tian raised an eyebrow. That's not saying much, master. There are only two of us at Xia Yao Peak. Despite her jab, she clutched the book tightly, realizing its potential. Don't worry, master. I will definitely practice diligently. Even now, Tian still held a grudge about having to wash dishes. She scoffed at the thought, muttering under her breath. The profound sovereign technique is definitely not as powerful as master claimed, but I'll use this training to show my true talent. Once I've mastered it, he'll see how wasteful it is for a genius like me to be stuck washing dishes. Suddenly, an ominous feeling washed over the area, making her expression tense. Her heart raced. She could feel something dark and dangerous approaching. The air seemed charged, like a drawn string ready to snap. At that moment, a massive figure appeared in the sky. A cow with two pairs of long, gleaming horns hovering above the peak. Tension filled the air as both Tian and Yang immediately recognized the sinister energy. It's true, Yang muttered, his eyes narrowing. The residue of that woman has indeed escaped to the lower world. The Golden Horn Demon King had come for a purpose, and it wasn't to make peace. The beast had sensed something it wanted to destroy, and it intended to do it swiftly. The Demon King sniffed the air, its eyes gleaming with malice. This is the scent. She's here. That woman's power has lingered. It hovered menacingly, its golden horns glinting in the sunlight, already itching to make its move. That woman, it hissed. She's hiding somewhere in this mountain. Killing her would be a great achievement. The Demon King acted. With a roar, it unleashed a brilliant slash, its energy cutting through the air like a rocket. The attack slammed into the ground with an earth-shaking force. In the midst of the attack, Shiai, the skyhorn ant, was unfortunate enough to be caught in the wave of destruction. It braced itself, preparing for impact, its tiny form trembling. But in that moment, Shiai remembered the trust it had been given by its master. Protect this place. Those words echoed in Shiai's mind. The spirit beast couldn't stand by while its home and the people it had sworn to protect were endangered. With a fearless determination, Shiai stepped forward, its tiny legs moving resolutely. The ant's sharp antennae glowed faintly as it charged to meet the incoming attack head-on. The clash was swift but fierce. The Golden Horn Demon King's axe met Shiai's tiny but tenacious form. The Demon King, infuriated by the interruption, bellowed. Where did this little demon come from? It roared. To dare interfere with my business. Shiai, undeterred, waved its antennae again, signaling its defiance. The beast narrowed its eyes, sensing that this wasn't just any ordinary creature. The ant seemed to speak, somehow, to the Golden Horn Demon King. You say you're the protector of this mountain? You're here to stop me from destroying it? The Demon King sneered. But the beast was far from intimidated. A little demon that hasn't even transformed yet dares to instruct this king? It raised its axe again, ready to strike Shiai down. Just as the axe came crashing down, something unexpected happened. From a distance, a stone was thrown with incredible precision, striking the Demon King's attention and halting its attack midair. The beast roared in confusion, its gaze scanning below. Its eyes widened as it spotted the figure of its master, Yong, standing defiantly on the peak. Yong's gaze sharpened, his voice calm but firm. "I am the master of Xia Yao Peak. How dare you come here and create trouble, injure my spirit beasts? Who dares to disturb my domain?" The Golden Horn Demon King hesitated for a brief moment before snarling, "Little guy, listen carefully. I am the Golden Horn Demon King, acting under the orders of the Demonist Lord to capture Empress Lin Tian. I know she's hiding somewhere in this mountain. If you hand her over obediently, I might spare your life." Yong's expression darkened as he immediately switched to a domineering stance, his voice cold and sharp. "You want me to hand someone over? Even the Heavenly Tao wouldn't dare demand anyone from my Xia Yao Peak." At that moment, the Golden Horn Demon King remained arrogant, its gaze haughty, certain of its superiority. "What is a demonist? Who are you to speak to me this way? A mere chi refiner dares to speak disrespectfully to the Demonist Lord?" The Demon King suddenly shifted, its form glowing with a golden light, armor materializing around its massive body. "The Xinghe sect will be destroyed because of your ignorance." Yong, observing the arrogance of the beast, chuckled darkly. "Ignorant? Do you even know how I exist? I don't have time to beat around the bush. If this golden horn bull wants to play, then I'll wreak havoc with it." In an instant, Yong moved. His enormous hand reached out, glowing with power. The Golden Horn Demon King, once so confident, was immediately brought to its knees, pinned by Yong's force. "What?" the Demon King gasped, staring at the sheer strength before it. "Who are you? How can someone at the refined Chai stage have such magical talent?" Yong's lips curled into a cold smile. "I'm at the refined Chi stage." Surprised, old man? He extended his hand further, and streams of light surged from his palm. "But I'm at the 3,000 level of refined Chai." In that moment, Yong clenched his fist, and his immense hand crushed the Golden Horn Demon King to the ground. A green, spectral hand emerged from the void, swiftly plucking the Demon King's demon pill. Once the task was complete, the hand returned the pill to Yong. With a knowing glance, Yong looked to his beloved pet, Shiai. "Here, Shiai. This is the demon pill from that bull demon. Swallow it. It will be very beneficial for you." Shiai, still in her ant form, quickly obeyed, her eyes sparkling as she consumed the pill. Almost instantly, a radiant light enveloped her, and she began to transform. The next moment, something magical happened. Shiai's body shimmered, and she shifted, growing into an incredibly adorable girl. She stared at her new appearance in astonishment, touching her newfound form under Yong's scrutinizing gaze. "Have I transformed?" she whispered, wide-eyed, unsure whether to believe it. She was ecstatic, as if she had won the greatest lottery. Overcome with joy, she embraced Yong tightly, beaming. "Thank you, Master. Thank you for helping me transform. I will definitely use this body to repay your great kindness." Hearing this, Yong felt a bit awkward. "What do you mean by repaying with your body?" The words could easily lead to misunderstandings. He cleared his throat, trying to deflect. But seeing her so happy today, he didn't want to argue too much. "Well then, let's just leave it like this for now," Yong said with a forced smile. "I'll teach you how to speak properly later on." The next morning, with a hazy purple mist hovering over the mountain peaks, Tian sat in a corner, focusing deeply on her cultivation. A green dragon emerged, coiled around her, its energy pulsating as she channeled her will. Suddenly, with her eyes still closed, Tian opened them wide, her gaze sharp and commanding. She raised her hand, and a powerful source of energy surged from her, directing the dragon to fly forward. In response, a colossal column of water shot high into the air, nearly touching the clouds floating above. Watching the result, Tian Tian's heart blossomed like spring. The dragon's transformation was the primary skill she had been honing since she set her sights on becoming empress. And now, she had finally mastered it. Previously, she had accepted the book from Yong quite reluctantly, but over time, Tian realized its true worth. Thanks to the profound sovereign manual, she discovered that this technique could expand her spiritual sea, allowing her to practice the 9 dragons transformation, even at the refined chi stage. "I did not choose the wrong master," she thought proudly. Suddenly, Yong approached from behind, his footsteps quiet but his presence unmistakable. Without a word, he stood silently, watching. As if reading her mind, he finally spoke. Softly, yet with a clear authority, making her gasp. "Of course you didn't choose wrong. Choosing me as your master is the smartest decision of your life." At that moment, A fierce growl rumbled inside Tian Tian. Her dragon spirit stirred, and she turned to him with narrowed eyes. Master, why are you hiding behind me? Eavesdropping? Her tone was sharp, half accusatory, half amused. Yang tilted his head, pretending to be a confused deer. I wasn't eavesdropping. I came here to fish, just from a distance. I saw you blowing up fish in the Sea of Suffering. They were no different from cats and dogs. Tian Tian's temper flared. I wasn't blowing up fish. I was practicing. If you weren't my master, I would have already suppressed you with one hand. Yang, amused by her persistence, chuckled. You're really diligent. So, how far have you practiced the profound sovereign technique? What realm have you reached? Tian smirked triumphantly. It was her moment to show off. Finally, you asked, she declared, hands clasped together in a self-satisfied pose. If the master knew, I've practiced to the 5th level. You'd be amazed by my talent. Yang raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. The 5th level. Impressive. Tian's smile widened, proud and self-assured. She had mastered the technique faster than anyone could have anticipated, and it felt good to finally have something to show for her efforts. Her eyes sparkled as she awaited his reaction. As expected, upon hearing Tian's proclamation, Yang was shocked and speechless. The 5th level? In response to his reaction, Tian giggled with satisfaction. Indeed, the master is so astonished that he can't find the words. I have the talent of a great emperor. You'll have to get used to it. But Yang wasn't shocked because of her talent. No, it was the sheer underperformance in her progress that left him speechless. I learned the profound sovereign technique in just the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, he muttered under his breath. Yet she's been practicing all night and only made it to the 5th level. Her talent is lacking. Feeling her own strength surging, Tian suddenly remembered something. Master, where is Shii? Yesterday, I wasn't feeling very well, and today I want to challenge it a bit. At that moment, a group of cultivators from Yao Peak arrived. Their leader, an old man with a stern expression, barked orders. Search thoroughly. Don't miss any spots. In the presence of these uninvited guests, Yang remained calm, his voice steady. Disciples of Yao Peak, why don't you stay at Yao Peak to breed instead of coming to Shia Yao Peak? Are you here to breed the turtle in this stagnant pond? His tone was sharp, not one to be taken lightly. The old man from Yao Peak didn't take the jab lightly either. He responded seriously. We came to look for spirit beasts. Whether the turtle in this stagnant pond breeds or not has nothing to do with Yao Peak. Yang's calm demeanor belied the tension rising inside. He silently acknowledged that Tian's transformation last night had stirred up far too much attention. Unwanted attention. Tian, regardless of how amazing she was, knew how to defend her territory. When facing others invading Shia Yao Peak and shamelessly demanding things, she was straightforward. If Shia Yao Peak has spirit beasts, then they belong to Shia Yao Peak. What does it have to do with Yao Peak? But at that moment, a new face appeared. A young man, flamboyant and confident, standing at the front. His name was Qin Shu Fan, from Yao Peak, and he wore the golden elixir badge, signifying his cultivation. According to the sect rules of the Xinghe sect, any spirit beasts that were unclaimed could be captured by any sect. So even if the spirit beasts are at Shia Yao Peak, it doesn't mean they belong to your Shia Yao Peak, Qin Shu Fan declared arrogantly. Tian wasn't afraid. She responded directly. Then you're late. The spirit beasts you're looking for have accepted my master as their owner. The words carried weight, but it didn't convince Qin Shu Fan. He scoffed. Really? Whether the spirit beasts recognize your master as their owner cannot be determined by your words. It must be confirmed by the spirit beasts themselves. Ignoring their challenges, Tian pressed forward. The spirit beasts haven't transformed, and basically, they cannot speak yet. Qin Shu Fan sneered. You were initially planning to rob them outright. I didn't say that, Tian countered. But if you insist on thinking that way, then so be it. The old man from Yao Peak waved his hand, and his subordinates immediately moved. Bring Shia over. What are you standing there for? Hurry and find the spirit beasts. Seeing her master looking dazed, as though he had just come down from the mountain, Tian began to formulate a plan. My master is only at the refined chai stage. I cannot rely on him to protect the dignity of Shia Yao Peak, Tian said with firm resolve, glancing at Qin Shu Fan with steely eyes. Although I am at the refined chi stage as well, I have the memories from my previous life and the imperial-level skills within me. The establishment of the foundation for monks is usually not a match for us. Her gaze sharpened, directed squarely at Qin Shu Fan. She knew this was a challenge, but he wasn't one to lower himself to fight someone of her level, not unless he was forced to. With that, Tian decided to go all out. You're too arrogant today. I, Lin Tian, will let you know that there are people at Shia Yao Peak. Her voice rang out clear and resolute. In an instant, she unleashed a single move, and it was enough to make them all spit blood. The group collapsed to the ground like wheat under a sickle, worn down by her power. Qin Shou Fan and the others were left wide-eyed and speechless. But what followed next left everyone stunned. It wasn't Tian who had taken them down. What happened? I haven't even made a move. Tian's master, Yang, felt furious at being manipulated. Who dares to ambush a disciple of Yao Peak? If you have the ability, come out. Suddenly, an attack came. A powerful strike aimed directly at the old man from Yao Peak. To everyone's shock, the one responsible for the attack was Shiai, who had just transformed moments ago. Chino's expression turned from contempt to astonishment. He had thought he had already seen everything, but this? It left him frozen in place. Tian quickly turned to Yang, confusion knitting her brows. Shiai, she clearly hasn't transformed yet. Yang, with an acting performance that rivaled the best from Hollywood, nonchalantly glossed over it. Maybe there's something unusual going on. Qin Shou Fan's eyes lit up, his greed shining through like a beacon. Another spirit beast transformation? If I can get that, my combat power will increase by at least 50%. It has to be mine. He quickly proposed a trade to Yang. Yuncle, I'll exchange this high-grade Foundation establishment pill for that spirit beast. How about it? Yang, ever the strategist, chuckled. Given your uncle's talent, don't mention high-grade Foundation establishment pills. Even a peak-grade Foundation establishment pill would be useless for establishing foundations at this moment. Tian, listening closely, felt a wave of embarrassment. How poor is the talent, really? She muttered to herself. Suddenly, Qin Shou Fan's face darkened, his confidence crumbling. It was clear now that Tian wasn't someone he could easily manipulate. But he wouldn't let this go. He had too much to gain. Before anyone could react, Shiai was suddenly caught, bound tightly by Qin Shou Fan's trick. A grin crept across his face, as if he'd struck a jackpot. Got you? He chuckled, his laughter echoing in the air. Ye, uncle, you are only at the refined chai stage, Qin Shou Fan sneered. How can you have the right to possess transformed spirit beasts? Hand them over to me so I can serve the Xinghe sect better. In the meantime, though Yang remained calm, Tian was burning with rage. Her fists clenched tightly, and she charged forward. Shameless, she spat. Qin Shou Fan, unfazed, extended his hand to counter her attack. You at the refined chai stage dare to strike at me? His confidence was evident. Suddenly, Tian stumbled back slightly, but it wasn't from weakness. It was from the shock of her own strength. The blood chi in my body surged, she thought. Is she really just at the refined chai stage? Fear flickered across Qin Shou's face, and he had to reconsider his arrogance. His expression turned wary. Maybe she's hiding something. At that moment, sensing the potential escalation, Yang placed a hand gently on her shoulder to stop her. Enough, don't fight anymore. But Tian wasn't one to back down so easily. With a fire in her eyes, she refused to stop. Master, don't stop me. Today, no matter what happens, I cannot let this shameless man leave. However, Yang reassured her calmly. Rest assured, he won't be able to take Shiai. The ancient mythical beast has used the inner Dan of the Demon King. How could it be bound by the magic weapon of a golden elixir cultivator? Hearing this, Tian's eyes widened in disbelief. What? The inner Dan of the Demon King? In an instant, Shiai, who had been quietly observing, broke the ropes binding her. With speed like a startled bull, she sprinted forward, mouth wide in fury. You bastard, I'll kill you now! Qin Shou Fan, caught off guard, wasn't foolish enough to just sit back and take it. He pulled out a fan, ready to defend himself. Want to poke my eyes? Ha! I'll block. But Shiai wasn't aiming for his eyes. In a swift motion, she jabbed at his nostrils. The moment her fingers struck, Qin Shou let out a sharp cry, clutching his face in agony. Before he could react further, Shiai grabbed him by the robes and, with a burst of strength, tossed him far away. Exile the bad guy, she declared, sending Qin Shou sprawling on the ground. Qin Shou lay there, sprawled awkwardly, his nostrils now as wide as wagon wheels. Even his spirit beasts, who had been following him, turned on him, teasing him mercilessly. Tian's jaw dropped in disbelief. A golden elixir cultivator defeated by Shiai in one move? Isn't he already the Demon King? Shiai, now breathing heavily but triumphant, turned to Yang. Master, I have defeated the intruders. Yang patted her head with a proud smile. Not bad. I knew you'd do well in your mountain duty. Keep it up. Just as the tension began to ease, Yang suddenly remembered something. Right, disciple. Didn't you say you wanted to challenge Shiai earlier? His eyes sparkled with curiosity. However, after witnessing Shiai's domineering and impressive strength, Tian wanted to make a quick exit. No need, she muttered. I might be a bit tired from staying up late. I'm going to rest now. But Shiai wasn't willing to let her off that easily. Then tomorrow, let's have a match. Given Tian's current strength, Shiai was confident she'd win easily. Yang reminded himself to try harder to help her. Really? I've taken on a foolish disciple. He sighed inwardly. I need to think of a way to increase her cultivation. At that time, the night had enveloped the entire landscape, leaving only the bright moon high above. A mysterious group appeared, looking extremely dangerous. It seemed that disaster was about to strike again. Yang returned to his tranquil lifestyle, sitting alone by the riverside, fishing late into the night. He put the basket down on the ground, the fishing rod slung over his shoulder, preparing to become a child of the sea. The sky is dark, and the wind is strong tonight. It's a wonderful time to go fishing. I have a feeling we'll have a great catch today, he murmured, his expression calm, lightly smiling as he gazed at the starry night sky before him. However, amid such a peaceful and picturesque scene, Yang was being watched. The group from U Peak, led by the old man, observed him closely. This Yang thinks that with spirit beasts in disguise, he can look down on us and leisurely go fishing, one of the younger disciples sneered. Senior brother, those spirit beasts are really powerful. Can he really control them? But the old man was confident. Since he had prepared everything thoroughly, he was sure he could deal with Yang. Rest assured, the Master Peak Lord has specially assigned Wind Master Hongwei Kamat. No matter how powerful those spirit beasts in disguise are, they won't be able to stir up any big trouble. Still, the group remained obsessed with Shiai. They secretly discussed among themselves, scheming about capturing her at all costs. I brought all the beast-enchanting incense. It can incapacitate over 10,000 demon beasts. That useless person at the refined chai stage will surely sleep for a whole month after inhaling it, one of them declared. As soon as he finished speaking, they didn't wait any longer. Incense sticks were immediately heated, and a few were thrown toward Yang. At first, the scent caught Yang's attention, and he acted completely clueless, pretending to be surprised. Hey, who is burning incense at this late hour? He asked, feigning ignorance. The group, thinking they had fooled him, laughed gleefully. The next moment, Yang picked up one of the incense sticks and sniffed it. His eyes narrowed slightly. Strange. This smell is somewhat similar to the nicotine I used to smoke. A sly grin crept across his face. I'll keep this for when I need to be alert. Instead of throwing it away, he set it down on the ground, close to him, completely unbothered. This bizarre Canadian incident left them utterly confused, and they became agitated. How can he not be knocked out? Could it be the dosage isn't enough? Quickly throw all the beast-enchanting incense you have on you. I don't believe I can't make you faint. They were as angry as monkeys eating chili, continuously hurling incense towards him, determined to turn Yang into a princess who sleeps in the woods. The scene opened with Yang fishing as dusk fell. Around him, floating cigarettes created a surreal atmosphere. Suddenly, Yang seemed to notice the movement of his fishing line. He lifted the fishing rod, and as a result, he caught a goldfish. He happily exclaimed, "Ha ha! I knew right away that there would be a harvest tonight." The fish was soon grilled, serving as his dinner. Seeing Yang using beast-enchanting incense to grill the fish, the old man from U Peak couldn't help but feel angry, shouting, "This guy is using our beast-enchanting incense to smoke the fish." He hurriedly tried to extinguish the smoke, exclaiming in surprise, "What is going on? Did he take the wrong one? This is definitely not beast-enchanting incense." Yang, sitting there enjoying the grilled fish, casually glanced over at them. The people from U Peak had all collapsed on the ground from the effects of the incense. Elsewhere, countless ants were crawling, falling onto the ground. Shiai tore steamed buns into small pieces and dropped them on the ground, saying, "The master says this is called a steamed bun. I find it particularly delicious. You all should try it too." Suddenly, Chinsho appeared from somewhere. A fiercely looking bird perched on his shoulder. He said, "Miss, you have been deceived by Yang. These steamed buns are food for lowly beings." The bird echoed his words. Does not value. Sensing the danger, Shiai quickly moved away from him and said, "The villain daring to speak ill of the master in front of me. I won't spare you." Chinsho suddenly broke into a sinister smile, pulled out a bowl and commanded, "Spirit-collecting golden bowl, take her for me." Shiai hadn't fully recovered from her surprise when she was sucked into the bowl. She was trapped inside it. Chinsho laughed and said, "Even if she is a spirit beast transformed? So what? Isn't she still captured by the spirit-collecting golden bowl?" She looked at him with resentment but could do nothing. Chinsho continued to threaten, "You ought to obediently follow me back to U Peak and acknowledge me as your master. I guarantee you'll have gourmet food that you can't finish. Shia used all her strength to try to escape from the bowl, but it was all in vain. Chinsho continued, "Go ahead, strike away. Hit as you wish. This spirit-collecting golden bowl is a treasure of you peak. I can imprison even you, awning ferocious beasts. Even if you exert all your strength, don't expect to make a crack." Suddenly, a streak of light swept across the bowl, causing Chinsho to widen his eyes in surprise. He looked around, trembling, and shouted, "Who?" Chinsho continued to look, but saw no one. He was cautious, silently thinking, the people from Xia Yao Peak must be knocked out by now. Could it be that other peaks are also targeting transformed spirit beasts? The night is long and dream-filled. It's best to bring the spirit beast back to U Peak soon. Suddenly, he looked panic-stricken at the bowl. He was extremely surprised, unable to believe his eyes because the bowl had been pierced and broken by a fishbone. He quickly shouted, "What? The demon gold bowl has been pierced by a fishbone? Again? How can this be?" Seizing the opportunity, Shiai immediately unleashed her strength. She used all her power to throw a strong punch at Chinsho's face, catching him off guard. The punch knocked him back far. Chinsho couldn't believe his eyes, saying, My gold bowl." It seemed there was a wave of dark energy waiting for Chinsho to face. Shiai had truly exploded with rage. Realizing the danger before him, he hurriedly raised his hands to surrender. "Miss, I will leave Xia Yao Peak myself now. You don't need to take action anymore." Shiai clenched her fists, her face showing extreme anger. Under the night sky, Chinsho's scream echoed far, causing his bird beast perched high above to tremble in fear. Transitioning to the early morning, Tian rubbed her eyes after a night of sleep. She quickly stretched and yawned. "Last night cultivation was great. Why did I suddenly fall asleep? Well then, let's go to the room to wash my face." As she was walking, she suddenly discovered something. Seeing Chinsho slumped against a tree, she took a fighting stance and said, "You from U Peak, you are being too arrogant. You came to Xia Yao Peak early in the morning to block my door. This is forcing me to take action." Chinsho looked up, revealing a face swollen with bruises, his expression filled with grievance. Seeing this, Tian was alarmed and kicked him, sending Chinsho flying. His beast called out, "Big pig head." He looked very miserable at that moment, silently telling himself, "I will never dare to go to Xia Yao Peak again." At Heavenly Sword Peak, people gathered to watch a martial arts performance in the yard. From a distance, everyone was very surprised, all showing expressions of admiration. The source of their astonishment came from Chongqing's display. He was performing a very skillful sword dance. Everyone watched closely as Chongqing leaped high and said, "This move is called the soul-seeking door," which amazed everyone. Then, he jumped to the ground, causing the tiles to crack. The people around began to discuss and highly praise Chongqing's skills. One person said, "The sword technique of the senior brother can transform into 9 streams of sword chi. Today has truly opened my eyes." Another agreed. "That's right. Do you think the title of Little Sword God was given for fun?" Someone remarked. "If in this life, I can reach even half the level of the senior brother, it would not be a wasted life." Chongqing turned to smile, thinking to himself, "With your level, being able to practice one of my skills would already be a blessing from your ancestors, and you still ask for half?" His expression changed, looking very angry. He thought, "This year's new disciple indeed has talent. Only Lin Tian, but she rejected my invitation to join Xia Yao Peak." Suddenly, a young lady said to Chongqing, "Senior brother, I didn't quite understand the move just now. Could you please point it out for me?" Then other young ladies followed suit, exclaiming, "Teach me too, senior brother. I also don't fully understand. Please teach me." The scene that was bound to happen came. The girls were competing to be taught by Chongqing. One said, "I am the first to seek guidance from senior brother." Another argued, "Senior brother is not just yours." Chongqing suddenly realized something. "I understand now. I know why she rejected me." He began to imagine the illusion realm. The girls gathered around, hoping to be taught, thinking Lin Tian must have known that I was admired by the female disciples, so she deliberately rejected me. Then he laughed loudly and said, "Haha, this soft tactic is really good." He smiled wickedly, thinking, "Lin Tian, you have indeed succeeded in attracting my attention, but if I have understood everything, how can I let you continue to be with that useless person?" At Xia Yao Peak, Tian was sitting seriously, practicing martial arts. Suddenly, a voice broke her concentration. "Tian, sister, I came to discuss with you." Shiai was running toward her, calling Tian. But strangely, Tian was no longer there. Shiai wondered, "Hey, why can't I see her?" That was because Tian had run away at light speed. She silently thought, with fear, With my current cultivation, I am definitely no match for Xiai. In short, I should avoid her as much as possible before Foundation establishment. While fleeing, Tian encountered Chongqing, who was also searching for her. He hurriedly greeted, Lin Jr.'s sister, how have you been? Unfortunately, Tian couldn't remember him. She asked, who are you? He panicked and explained, I'm Chongqing, the disciple of Heavenly Sword Peak. During the recruitment ceremony, I invited Lin Jr.'s sister to join Heavenly Sword Peak. Tian tried to remember, and suddenly she realized, there was someone like you. She raised an eyebrow in confusion. What are you doing at Xia Yao Peak? Is Heavenly Sword Peak aiming for Xiai as well? Chongqing asked in bewilderment. Xiai? What is that? He quickly smiled and invited, this time I came just to invite Lin Jr.'s sister to cultivate at Heavenly Sword Peak. She turned her back and bluntly refused. No, I am a disciple of Xia Yao Peak. Why should I go to Heavenly Sword Peak to cultivate? Chongqing quickly grabbed her arm, raised a book, and said, wait. As long as Lin Jr.'s sister agrees to join Heavenly Sword Peak, I will impart the Supreme Skill and the Wind Shadow Sword formula to you. She looked at the notebook in astonishment, thinking, the ultimate wind control technique. In the past, the profound sovereign taught me a master technique that helped me greatly increase my cultivation. If this Wind Shadow Sword formula has a similar effect, I can't let it slip away. Tian smiled and asked, Chongqing's senior brother, can I take a look at this Wind Shadow Sword formula? He quickly replied, of course, Lin Jr.'s sister. Feel free to take a look. Looking at the unique techniques in the book, she couldn't help but be amazed and asked, Chongqing's senior brother, did you take the wrong one? Is this really the mystical grade swordsmanship? Chongqing grinned slightly and answered, that's right. Moreover, this is not ordinary swordsmanship, but a top-tier mystical grade swordsmanship at the peak of the 9 levels. Extremely precious. Lin Jr.'s sister, you must seize this great opportunity. Her face darkened as she thought angrily. Martial arts in the world can be divided into 6 ranks: divine, holy, celestial, earth, mystical, and yellow. The imperial swordsmanship I practiced was at least at the celestial level. He dares to deceive me with a mystical grade. She hurriedly threw the notebook back at him and said, senior brother, this swordsmanship is too powerful. I can't learn it. I'll continue to stay at Xia Yao Peak. Chongqing was taken aback and quickly tried to hold her. Junior sister, don't go, I'll teach you. He was furious and thought to himself, if I had known she would complain about it being difficult, I should have used the swordsmanship of the armor instead. The sky was at dusk, nearly dark, when suddenly a hand reached out toward a strange object and said, it's time. Yang cast a spell, harnessing the light emanating from the strange orb, and a tremendous source of power flowed into him. Yang held the magical broom and said with a smile, the broom made from phoenix feathers contains the essence of the great Tao. Good disciple, you have joined my sect of Xia Yao Peak. You just need to lie still as the master takes you flying. At this moment, Tian was comfortably enjoying her bath when Yang suddenly rushed in, surprising her. He cheerfully said, disciple, master has brought you something good. She angrily shouted, master, why did you come in without knocking? Yang grinned and replied, you keep hiding in the bathroom. No wonder your cultivation speed is so slow. Hurry up and get dressed. Master has something to tell you. I am waiting for you outside. This only made Tian angrier. She gritted her teeth and yelled again saying my cultivation speed is slow. Tian cursed inwardly. I have already broken through from the 6th to the 8th level of refined chai these past few days at Xia Yao Peak, not mentioning it to avoid scaring you. She had already put on her clothes and went out to ask, Master, what do you want me for? Yang then took out a feather duster and boasted, look at this item that Master has prepared for you. It will help you with your cultivation. Tian gasped in shock and said, no, you don't want me to use this feather duster to clean, do you? My room is already very clean and doesn't need sweeping. But Yang grabbed her hand and ran while saying, sweep? No, it's for hitting people. Tian's face darkened as she angrily thought, how dare a regular refined chi cultivator like you hit me? She shook Yang's hand off and shouted, Master, please go outside. If not, don't blame me for suppressing you. Yang cheerfully, seemingly oblivious to Tian's attitude, placed a hand on her shoulder and said, disciple, trust master, just one incense stick. Hurry up and lie face down on the bed. Tian shouted loudly. Come out. She swung her hand to attack, but Yang easily dodged. She was surprised because she didn't think he could evade her. Yang stood behind her, waving the feather duster, leaving Tian unable to react in time. Tian had a strange feeling. She blushed, thinking, what is this feeling? It's coming straight to my head. No, I can't hold back much longer. Yang chuckled and reminded her, disciple, Focus your mind and feel the intention of the great Tao. Tian screamed as she felt as if countless hands were touching her body. She gradually became excited, thinking, yes, this is the intention of the great Tao. It turns out that Master's feather duster is indeed a treasure. I have misunderstood him. She shyly lay face down on the bed and pleaded, Master, please whip me. Just then, Chongqin rushed in from somewhere, smirking as he thought, Lin Jr.'s sister? I found a mid-grade sword formula for you. I guarantee you'll learn it. Suddenly, his expression changed upon hearing, Master, please give me power. He glanced through the shadow of Tian's room, seeing Yang swinging the feather duster to hit her. He couldn't help but be shocked. Furious, gritting his teeth, he shouted loudly, You, Ye Kong, if you dare to touch my woman, I will kill you. Suddenly, Shia's vision darkened, and a person full of hidden weapons appeared out of nowhere, striking him on the head with a stick, causing Chongqin to fall forward. Tian looked down at him with disdain, pulled his unconscious body and said, Is that all you can do? And yet you dare to threaten the master? The scene shifted to the morning. With Tian sleeping soundly, she slowly opened her eyes and stretched, yawning. Is it morning already? She hurriedly adjusted her posture and groaned. It hurts. Remembering how she had begged Yang to hit her and feeling embarrassed, she thought, That's right. Yesterday I told the master to hit me, but he really didn't hold back at all. No mercy. Tian contemplated for a moment and then decided, having been hit like that cannot be in vain. I must see if my cultivation has increased. She began to concentrate on her training, and a powerful source of magical energy immediately surrounded Tian. This source of energy manifested as a towering structure. She was astonished, her mouth agape, thinking, What? I have already reached refining Chai level 9? Before being struck by the master, I was only at refining Chai level 7. So what kind of magic weapon is that feather duster that can help me increase 2 minor realms? Tian hurriedly changed her clothes, telling herself, Don't think about that anymore. If I'm already at refining Chai level 9, I should break through to the foundation establishment realm first. She needed to prepare the items for foundation establishment. She changed into a brilliant outfit, her aura becoming captivating. She said, It's just that this empress has extraordinary talent. Using ordinary foundation establishment items will only waste my talent and hinder my development. She raised an eyebrow, shook her head, and happily said, This Xing. He definitely doesn't have foundation establishment items worthy of me. Fortunately, I have prepared ahead of time to use the pieces I set up from my previous life. Then she clasped her fingers together and recited some kind of incantation. Her hand projected that source of power and said, Go.